Hey guys, Sundown here. This is going to be my chapter review to One Piece 913, Suru Repays the Favor. Now, this was a fast-paced chapter which was quite enjoyable, and then at the end we find out that One Piece, or sorry, it's more along the lines of Shonen Jump, is on a break next week, so we're not going to be getting One Piece or My Hero Academia or anything within Shonen next week, which is kind of unfortunate because we've just come off of a break for One Piece itself. And yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate, but we'll see how this goes. So we start this chapter with Hawkins asking Luffy and Zoro if they know who's in control of Wano. And I really loved this part because Luffy just abruptly shouts out the first thing on his mind, which is, yeah, we're here to kick Kaido's ass. And then like Zoro's just there like, bruh, we're not supposed to tell anybody about that. And he backtracks instantly. He's like, oh, I was just lying about that. I don't know anything that's going on here. So that was pretty funny. I thought that was a good way to start the chapter. And we have Hawkins tell Zoro and Luffy about their chances of survival by the end of this month, which is 19%, which is quite low considering, like, we've never really had a real percentile against, like, what their chances of survival are. But 19% is almost a fifth of a chance of survival, and really there's, like, the entire crew almost. Yeah, the entire crew is on Whole Cake, is in Wano, so someone's bound to get hurt a little bit, especially if we also have the Heart Pirates there, which we see at the end of this chapter, and if we have the Samurai of Wano, some of them might team up with Luffy, so chances are someone important will probably get hurt or die this arc. Now, it's quite funny this chapter because even though we have Hawkins saying all this stuff about you only have a 19% chance of survival by the end of this month, it doesn't seem to faze Luffy or Zoro in the slightest, with Zoro actually taking more notice of the fact that Luffy's holding a freaking sword which he can feel. He's just like, hey, that sword feels a bit weird, like, where did you get that sword from? And Luffy's like, oh, it's just a named sword I found from somewhere. And Zoro feels within his heart that it's an important sword, which it is to him because it's Nidai Kitetsu, which is a sword above his own sword. Now, while asking Luffy whether he could check out the sword himself, Luffy instantly starts the fight against Hawkins and Kaido's men, with Zoro being dismayed that Luffy would even throw the scabbard away. I mean, like, who the hell does that? And so Luffy then proceeded to actually disappoint me this chapter by not actually using the sword, but using his normal techniques whilst holding the sword. And I knew it was a long shot when I mentioned it, like, last review, but I really wanted to see Luffy use the sword just to kind of provide some sort of change to his usual fighting style. So one of these lizardy beasts of burden that they're all riding on, the Kaido's men at least, then attacks Luffy, with Luffy throwing it back at Hawkins in kind of return for the attack. And here we get to see Hawkins unsheath his blade, but it looks different to the last time we saw him unsheath his blade. And the last time we saw him unsheath his blade was when he was against, like, Brownbeard's men or something like that. And his blade is actually made completely out of straw this time, much like the rest of his kind of devil fruit ability allows him to do. And I was pleasantly surprised here because I just wasn't expecting to see a sword like that, especially seeing that we're in Wano, so there's bound to be loads of swords, but I didn't expect to see a straw sword. So he uses this blade to stab through the lizard that Luffy threw at him, and Luffy actually feels a little bit guilty about having thrown the lizard to his death, essentially. And Zoro uses this opportunity to take out some of Kaido's men, and then he actually lands a shot on Hawkins, one of his kind of like air cutter things. And Hawkins actually uses his voodoo abilities to transfer the damage to one of Kaido's men here, whilst remaining relatively unhurt himself. I mean, he does lose a life in the process. He can, I think, he only ever seems to carry around 10 lives, so 10 of those voodoo dolls within him, which is every time he's damaged, one of those voodoo dolls will pop out and someone else will die. And he only seems to ever carry around 10, but I think he could carry around more if he wanted to. I'm not too sure. We don't really know too much about Hawkins himself. So Hawkins then unleashes a giant straw monster from his sword, very reminiscent actually of the creature we see in Naruto when Minato first sealed the Kyuubi inside Naruto. And it's also very similar to Hawkins in his full straw form. I forgot what it's called, Goma, no, something. And Hawkins then starts drawing cards like it's freaking like Yu-Gi-Oh or some shit, and he just seems like these cards seem to affect his men and possibly even himself in some sort of way. So the first card he draws, for example, is some sort of card. I think he calls it the Joker in reverse. So one of his men is forced to kill a comrade, which Hawkins actually apologizes for. He's like, oh shit, like stuff like that happens. It's just chance. But he doesn't seem too torn up about it, which kind of annoyed me. I'm just like, Hawkins, one of your boys just killed another one of his boys. But we do realize that these are Kaido's men, so maybe Hawkins is a bit, he's okay with that. So while this is happening, that Koma Inu thing grabs Luffy and Zoro, concerned for Tama, seeing as her fever is getting worse. The Koma Inu then tries to escape with Luffy and Zoro on his back, but Hawkins draws a good card at this point. Now let me just put my phone on silent. Yeah, so Hawkins draws a card called the Hierophant, a card of pursuit. So it follows Luffy and Zoro, threatening to strike them down. It looks awesome. Like I said, it looks like the kind of that creature that sealed the Kyuubi into Naruto through Minato. But if you watched Bleach, it kind of follows the same mechanism. This straw creature that Hawkins controls reminded me of how Komamura, or Captain Komamura, in Bleach utilized his Zanpakuto, which was Kokujo Tengen Myo. And basically every time he lifts his sword or he strikes with his sword, the creature does the exact same thing in time with him. So it's kind of like a puppet master type thing. So Hawkins actually lifts his sword. He seems to be right-handed. Actually, yeah, that was a bit weird. I swear the sword was on his right hip and he lifted it out with his right hand, which is unique. You usually wear it on your opposite hip. But he seems to lift his sword, and his straw creature does the same thing, and it slices down at Zoro as Luffy protects Tama. Now, the sword itself of the beastie that Hawkins is in control of is quite unique in the sense that it has nails coming down the side of it, so it looks almost like Zabimaru from Bleach as well. So it's all these like Bleach / Naruto vibes from this chapter as well. So Zoro is surprised by how powerful the beast is and how powerful the swing is from the beast, and is further surprised when it spits nails at him, which actually injures Zoro, something which doesn't really happen that often. In return, Zoro nails the straw creature and kills it, damaging Hawkins and actually killing another one of Kaido's men in turn, as one of the voodoo dolls pops out of Hawkins again. So they've successfully made an escape, and Zoro and Luffy are now they then encounter the lady that Zoro saved and a chapter ago, and who she was hiding in the Koma Inu's tail. So her name is she's addressed as Osuru, but her name is Suru, and she's kind of like she's drawn in a very, very kind of like another kind. I'm not sure which artist it is, but it's another classical Japanese style of art. I've seen it like I'm not very familiar with art. It just happens to be that I've seen art like this before long ago. And I just looked at the way Suru was drawn, and I was like, that's different, and that's something I've seen before. But yes, she's drawn very different. But the thing with her is she's I think I've forgotten what her title was, but she's like a tea house mistress or something like that. She's the mistress of the tea house or something like that. And she instantly recognizes Tama and realizes what she's done. She's like, oh my god, she must have drunk the water from the river, which obviously everyone seems to know is poisonous. And she tells Luffy and Zoro to take her to the tea house where they can brew some medicinal tea to help the little girl. Now, she also offers to help Zoro with his wounds, and the unusual group then make their way towards Okobore town, which is the town of leftovers. So we go to this town of leftovers where Yokozuna, which is a champion sumo wrestler, tries to get it on with this good-looking girl, actually, one of the village girls, who actually, like I said, looks quite pretty, but I'm not sure about her age, so we're not going to say anything yet. Now, her name is Kiku, and she's the poster girl for this tea house. So Suru and company arrive, with Suru telling Kiku to make this medicinal tea pronto. In the distance, on top of a mountain, we then see Beppo and two others of the Heart Pirates. I've forgotten what their names are, something like Penguin and something like that. And they're looking down on Luffy through some binoculars and wondering whether they should meet up or not before the Straw Hat Pirates cause a commotion or something like that. So it was a good chapter. Unfortunately, like I said, we're on break next week again. But the encounter between Hawkins, Luffy, and Zoro was good. I really enjoyed that part. But neither Luffy nor Zoro seemed to be too serious about the fight. And in fact, Hawkins himself didn't even really seem too emotional about it. He didn't seem too invested in it. And maybe this is because Zoro and Luffy can feel that Hawkins isn't really out to kill them. I'm not too sure if he is yet. And maybe he was kind of trying to showcase that, like, look, I'm not really trying to kick your asses here, I'm just doing my job. And I get the feeling that Hawkins is just waiting for the opportune moment to turn on Kaido. So let me know what you guys thought of this chapter. Let me know what you guys thought of this review. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I should be back maybe tomorrow or Sunday in my review for My Hero Academia. So I'll see you guys then.